Good afternoon, everybody. This is Alan. Welcome to Macro Talk 2. It's Thursday. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, almost, and I apologize for being a little bit late. It was a strangely OCD reason today. I've been busy working at my desk all morning and ran out of time as usual and just went to grab a bottle of water so that I wouldn't get too dry as I talked. And the song was ending. I thought I had enough time to get back, and then I was going to stop the intro and come on. Grabbed the water, ran back in, and the song ended about 3 seconds earlier than I thought. And I had to let it play again because I wasn't going to interrupt the guy to talk. Isn't that terrible? I should just have interrupted him, but there you go. How's everybody doing today? Is it nice where you are? It's not nice where I am. It's sunny, but it's scorching. And I can't see anything through my glasses. Do they make spectacles that are stronger than 3.5? I don't think so. But these are failing in the battle. I've got a lot to talk about today, and it's a lot of excuses. Shall I get the excuses out of the way? If you're here to find out if you won the photo competition, you probably didn't. I mean, just the odds are, whoever you are, you probably didn't, because there were a lot of people. There were 58 entries this month, which, for a regular month, that's a lot. And the quality of the pictures, again, has gone up another order of magnitude over previous months. It's getting genuinely difficult to judge these objectively. So I spent all day on, half a day on Tuesday, because I had to get ready for Macro Talk, and then all day yesterday from 5:30 in the morning until I could not look at another picture about midnight last night. That was with a several hour break to talk to Rick. And I just, you get saturated, and I look at every photograph as if it's a potential winner, and I assess it just like I would any photograph. And it's a lot of work. And I'm finished, and I know who won, but I'm not going to tell you because I haven't done the video yet, but I'm going to do it. Right, my camera's all poised and ready. Would you like to see? This is what I'm going to be shooting it on. This one, or possibly some on this one, and then I'll have this video out in literally no time flat, or about 9 hours, something like that, one of those two. The quality of the black and white pictures is just fantastic, and I think most of you have learned the big lesson from this competition is that shooting macro in black and white is much harder than it sounds. It is a difficult ask, but you'll see from the pictures that it's worth the effort. Now I'm going to do a very quick and dirty poll. Alistair, are you ready to count some hands for me? I hope so. This will be quick and easy. I'm going to make this video, and because there are 58 entries, and I have made notes on every single entry, so every single photograph will get feedback. Do you want all of them in the video? I won't chapterize them because the chapters would be too many and too small, but I will cover every single submission. Or would you like me to only cover the notables, the ones that win an honorable mention? I'm not mean to anybody, but I'm completely transparent in my assessment of the different photographs. One of these videos will take an hour if I am lucky and talk very fast. The other one I can do in much less time, and can give you the honorable mentions, the third, second, and first place winners. Let me know, just with a short or long is the answer you need to give, short or long. And I will take it from there. Alistair, if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on that, and just let me know when you think it's time that we've got enough, and just let me know whether I've got to do a long video or a short one. To be honest, it would be easier to do the long one because the long one has already done itself. The short one will have to be edited from the long one as far as the content goes. But don't you worry about that. You just tell me whether or not you want the long video or the short video. Welcome, everybody. If I haven't said hi to you, I will. Lots of people here today, and something that I learned that I think it might be a story or apocryphal, but I believe that if I get more likes than, say, somebody else, it's more likely that my live stream would be advertised more widely on YouTube. If that's true, which I have no reason to believe it isn't, would you mind giving me a like if you like it? If you don't like it, don't give me a like. But if you do, don't forget to do the thumbs up thing. Thank you for that. And talking about thanks, I'm going to thank a few people real quick. But the first group of people I want to thank are my new Patreon members, which I have been very bad about keeping up with my thank yous. I thank them individually, but I used to make a more concerted effort to make sure that everybody who joined Patreon to support my work and pay my salary, basically, I would say thank you to them. So I want to specially thank this month Terry Bass, Larry Goodwin, Julie, who is a new sponsoring member. That means they give me a lot of money. And Gedalia Wallace, Terry Allen, Avery Cook, who's a sustaining member now, and Klaus Gilloy, who is a sponsor also. So 2 sponsors last month, and Philip Carswell. Thank you all and welcome to the Patreon family. And also to David Wood, who is this month's first new Patreon member. I'm telling you this up front because this weekend is one of the weekends that I meet with my Patreon group. We get together for 2 hours every other Saturday. The program is up to you. I bring a program, but it can always be subverted by what the membership wants to do. And it is 2 hours of my time uninterrupted to do whatever you want. I will demonstrate techniques. I will go for a walk in the woods with you. I will just sit quietly for 2 hours and stare at the screen. Whatever you want me to do, within reason, I'll do it. And this Saturday, as a special opportunity for anybody who's thought about supporting me but doesn't know what Patreon is, we're going to do a Pzoom, is what we call these meetings, Patreon Zoom, because it's on Zoom, so you can talk to me and I can talk back. There is a Patreon Zoom coming up this Saturday. It is at 12 noon and it goes till 2. But for the first hour of that, so from 12 noon to 1 o'clock, the Patreon meeting will be open to anybody who wants to come. So anybody who has any interest in learning anything about what we do at a Pzoom meeting, I usually bring content to share. We look at equipment, we talk about our rigs, we do all kinds of things macro related. It's all macro related. That's your cup of tea. Please come on Saturday. And this Saturday is a special Saturday because I am getting ready to do some restructuring on Pzoom and change the benefits and that type of thing in order to make it more attractive. So if you have wanted to join but haven't joined because I'm not giving away a free Bugatti Veyron to every new subscriber, then come and tell me that on Saturday. I won't give you a car, but if you come on Saturday, you could make your opinion known. What would it take to get you to join, kind of? Okay, that's it. Look in the show description and you'll find an invitation for that first hour. And for Patreon folks, there's a second invitation that I have sent to you, which will be for the second hour, which will be in our private meeting room as usual. So thanks to all of you. I do appreciate it. Let me see what else I had here. I'm going to say some hellos, I think, is the next thing I need to do before we dig any further into today's program. Got a lot of folks to say hi to. Can you hear me, by the way? Yes? Good. Graham, I don't quite understand your message there, but I will get to it in a second and I'll figure it out by then. Jim, welcome. Glad you're here. Did I find a 400mm rail? Yes, I did. I found a fairly inexpensive one. It's a good one though. It's a Sunaway Photo 400mm. They make them all the way up to 600mm, it turns out. They're available on Amazon. I will put a link in the show notes for long rails. I did find the correct rail for my system, yes. And we move on to Mike Olson from Phoenix, Arizona, where all is well, I take it. I hope so. I hope you're staying indoors. Toluca, greetings, and Susan. Special thank you to Susan this week. That's becoming a regular feature. Thank you, Susan. We'll call it that, I think. Susan sent me a book, and I want to recommend it because I read it last night. It's mechanical engineering for people who are not mechanical engineers, and I would qualify as that. It is an excellent, practical book for people who like to make stuff and don't have the background. You don't need a mathematical background or a physics background. You just need to be able to read if you want to get something that's absolutely jam-packed with real practical mechanical engineering stuff that will help you in your projects. This is the book I've been looking for, or one of them certainly. A hands-on guide to designing and making physical things by Bunnell and Najia, or Bunnell and Najia. One of those combinations. It's called Make. Love it. Another book that just happens to be on my desk because I'm going to tell you about it again. I told you about it last week. Close-up and macro photography. It's Art and Field Craft Techniques by Robert Thompson. I have now finished this book also, and it is written beautifully and it is illustrated unlike any other macro book I've ever seen. It's probably the best macro book for a newcomer, especially somebody who is particularly interested in field macro. Robert shares all of his tips and tricks and equipment choices and everything else, everything you could want to know. I was telling somebody the other day that it's just the perfect macro photography book, but I like it because it doesn't have any of the crude humor that mine's going to have in it, so there won't be as much competition. But yeah, this book is a keeper, and I strongly urge you to get one. You know Robert's coming on the program. He is coming on the program. In a week or two, he's going to come talk to me about his career as a nature and wildlife photographer in Northern Ireland. And specifically, we're going to talk about his macro photography because he fell in love with that very early in his career, and it's been his go-to thing. And he's very well known over in the UK and in Europe in general, but he also teaches over here and travels all around the world. So there's a very good chance you've got one of his books or heard of him. And if you have a question for Robert, if you're a fan of his and you'd like to have him answer a question during our interview, all you have to do is send it to me, and I will ask the question of you with your name so that you'll get your question answered by him in the video. So that's all you have to do, and I'm really looking forward to it. We talked on a private Zoom call for a long time, and he's definitely one of the good guys, no doubt about it. I thought I'd talk very briefly about a couple of coming attractions which may or may not interest you. If you're thinking about maybe investing in a new computer to do your macro photography work on, and you're thinking about maybe one of Apple's new computers, the M2 Mac Ultra, the studio computer, well, it's a lot of computer. In fact, fully spec'd out, it's a 24 CPU, 76 GPU core. That's the number of cores. 24 in the CPU, 76 in the GPU, 32 neural engine cores, 192 gigabytes of RAM. Let me see, 8 terabytes of hard drive, solid state. Yeah, that's it, all displayed on a gigantic monitor. If you're interested in something like that, then yeah, watch next week because I'm going to show you what it does to my macro workflow when I use that computer I just described, which is sitting right there. It's mind-blowing. I can't wait to show it to you. Coming up also, we have a week or two with a new rail, something that you may have heard me joke about this company a few times. You don't? Good, you forgot. Well, so did the company, because they got in touch with me, NovaFlex did, and asked me if I would look at their Castell Micro. That's their automated rail. It's one of the most highly precise stepping rails made, and they're going to send it to me to look at. It's on the way, and you're going to get to see it firsthand. So that's going to be a real treat. I cannot wait to get my hands on that. It's something that Robert Thompson also uses, and he'll be talking about it when we do our interview as well. Okay, so the not really so much a mystery anymore mystery lens that I've been talking about for a couple of months is crawling slowly towards its US release and its pre-release sale that I'll be doing. And it's going to be very interesting. Now, you may want to, if you're considering the system, because you know more about it than I can tell you, but if you're considering it, and you're thinking about possibly wanting to build a support system for it, then you're going to need to see my plans and drawings from Larry. But I wanted to give you a heads up that the ones that I made were made with the wrong measurements, and the measurements have been corrected. If you copied down the link from the DIY video last week, you may have the wrong dimensions. I did not allow for my very thick neoprene, and the lens wouldn't fit properly. So that's been fixed. So the one that will be on my website eventually will have the correct measurements on it. But if you have any questions, just ask me and I'll let you know. You will need something like that if you're thinking about getting that lens. Okay, one last thing. I think it's one last thing. No. It isn't. That was actually what I was going to tell you there. Let me see. I think that's everything that I had. Okay, there are two things we're covering today formally. The first is a follow-up question on stereo image making. And it's such a good question. I actually read it in the comments of the video yesterday. And I thought, wow, that's a good one. It's from Kill Pop is his name. Which is an aggressive name, definitely. But he asks a question that deserves a separate answer, because I know other people are thinking the same thing. So we'll do that, and then we'll jump right into the wet work. The wet work is a discussion of all of the things you can do for this competition for this month, but I'll explain that in a second. So the question is all about he was responding to the long video, the master class that Rick gave on stereo. And the question is as follows. At 2:20:10, at 2 hours, 20 minutes and 10 seconds, Rick says, quote, "It's almost impossible to get the geometry perfect straight out of camera," end quote. When shooting separate left and right images, the writer adds, "I'm struggling with this. Moving from left to right will make one side of the image larger." Okay, fair enough. You're moving closer to it. Will make one side of the image larger, leading to vertical and horizontal anomalies. But these are the things our brain needs to form a 3D image from. That sentence is ended with a preposition, which we won't make any further comment on. So how do you set up a camera for 3D and not get anomalies? E.g., there were places in the video where he pointed out one part of the image was higher in one eye than in the other. But that happens when your left or right camera is looking from a different perspective. TLDR, I don't know what that means. Any links to web resources on a left-right camera setup that engages this idea of impossibility or make it possible. So yes, the links thing I'll put in the actual comments, but as far as answering your question, there are a couple of Super important concepts that I don't think you have considered, and we'll answer this. So I'm going to cover this so that you can all hear it. The difference in perspective when we are looking at stereo images is only pertinent in the horizontal plane. The vertical stuff is not used to assess an object's 3D status. It's only the horizontal. In fact, when you look at the human retina, the stuff that is most concentrated, the cells that are most concentrated on what we're looking at, are in the area of the fovea. And there is no active assessment of vertical positioning at that level. You have to go towards the periphery of your retinas before your brain starts paying attention to vertical disparity. So for the human eye, that's not true. When you said moving from left to right, that's how our brains form a 3D image. No, our brains form the 3D image only from the horizontal movement. And we do it in such a way that we actually keep it horizontal. Our brains do that. They do the correction for us, and our muscles, of course. So that is not actually the way it works. So when we're looking at a building, say, and we want to get a 3D picture of a building, we'll take a picture with the camera. Do I have a camera? We can take a picture with the camera, and then what we can do is we can move a little bit to one side. We don't move the camera, we take another picture. And that will be our stereo pair. It'll be horizontally the same. There won't be any vertical disparity. Now, there may be there won't be any horizontal disparity like keystoning, where one side of the building gets bigger than the other. That happens when you do this. Okay, when you change the angle and move it laterally, which is the temptation when you're doing a stereo pair. You're thinking, well, if I do that, it avoids that keystoning. But that is actually not what you should do. And with a large subject, that's easy not to do. You simply move the camera to the side. And that's how you'll get a stereo image that doesn't have vertical disparity. But you have to tow the camera in when you're shooting a macro subject. Because if your first image of the macro subject is like so, and then you move the camera horizontally, your second image won't have the subject in it anymore. That's the nature of macro. So in macro, we have to move it and tow it in. So if we're doing that, we are causing the vertical disparity that you're asking about. So how do we get through that problem? Because it seems insurmountable. What Rick was saying was, you can't do that in camera because you have to tow the camera in to keep the subject in the frame. That is why we use the other program that he talked about at length, which is Stereo Image Maker. Stereo Image Maker corrects for those vertical disparities, and it realigns the picture for 3D image pair making. And that's the answer to the question that Mr. Pop had. How do you set up a camera for 3D and not get anomalies? You don't. You're going to get the anomalies. You just take the outputs and put them into Stereo Photo Maker, where those anomalies will be corrected so that you can get your properly stacked 3D image without any of those vertical disparities. Does that make sense? It's much easier with bigger subjects. The smaller the subjects, the harder it gets, because the more you are baking in those abnormalities. But that's really it, and it's worth pounding that point home, is that you can't do this straight out of camera unless the subject is big enough to stay in approximately the same position, only slightly different angle when you move the camera without towing it in. As soon as you have to tow in, you need Stereo Image Maker. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with, like you say, the parts of the image going to be too high on the sides. Okay, so I feel like that needed to be clarified, and now it has been. So I am going to jump back into some hellos, which I never really properly got started on, and then we will jump into the wet work. Not literally. Hembrodian is here, and welcome from the north of England. Baconmeister, how are you, my friend? Keeping well, I hope. All is well on the Western Front. Yes, thank you. And Walter, with a question. Can you pointer me to how-to guides related to stacking and stitching? I'm guessing the latter is similar to, but significantly different from creating panoramas. Yes, yes and no. It's not that different, actually. And in fact, you can use panorama makers to do it. I will give some thought to the best resources. There are some new writings on the subject that I think will be helpful. You're talking about using your telecentric lens, right? The one that you, the Rick's formula. That will make your life very much easier, and it'll make it a piece of cake for the stacking program. You can use Photoshop for that. You can align and stack the images, stitch the images in Photoshop without any difficulty once you process them. So yeah, but I'll think of any other resources you might need. All right, I did a show on this some time ago. Did I? Oh yeah, oh, yes. That was back years ago now. That I did a stack and stitch on a wasp, and it was a brute force exercise using just accepting all the parallax error and trying to adjust for it with Photoshop's tools like liquefy and that type of thing to line up edges. It was a weekend-long photograph that was rather difficult and rather silly, actually, in retrospect. Though I did cover a lot of the things that would be helpful to do, like mapping the subject. I strongly urge anybody who tries to do this to come up with a systematic way to know where you are all the time. So what I do is take a picture of my subject from further back and blow it up roughly to the size I was aiming for, and then cut it into quadrants based on frame size. And I would overlap each of the quadrants, and I would number them by row and column. And that way, as I did a stack, I would check it off and then move to the next one and check my framing against the framing on my map shot. The map shot would, of course, just be a low-res picture of the wasp blown up. So that way I'd know that I got everything in the picture. The worst thing is to spend all these hours and hours doing this only to discover that one of the feet is missing because you didn't double check that you had got the right frame. So that's one thing that useful that came out of that video, I think. But thanks for remembering that, Baconmeister. What was the name of the video? Stack and Stitch, something like that. Had that in it. Do a search on my website, it'll show up. I feel sure. So it's raining in Germany, and Ingolf is with us. Greetings, Ingolf. One of the names that pops into my head when I think about this month's photo competition was Ingolf Kuntz, because one of his photographs this month was a real stunner. One of my absolute favorites. Loved it. But you'll have to watch to see how it fared, and actually to see the photograph. Except Ingolf, he knows exactly what it looks like, but it was brilliant. I want you to teach me how to take pictures like that, Ingolf. Which one, you are wondering? I'll tell you, it's got thorns in it. Anyway, let me see, where was I? Stacking and stitching for ultra high resolution macro images. That was Baconmeister giving the name of my video that I didn't know. You want a job? Baconmeister, you could sit opposite here at the table and help me keep things going straight in this enterprise. That would be good. All right. You can't post links in the live chat, says Walter. And then Alistair said good evening, which prompted me to jump in and say that Alistair can. Alistair can put whatever he wants in the links because he's a bouncer. So yeah, if you ever want anything put in the links, just ask Alistair. He'll do it. Maybe, if you're nice. Russ is here. Greetings. It's sunny and cool in Wales. It's sunny and not cool here. And from Lansing, Michigan, only half working. Which half is working, Larry? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. And Graham. Everyone from dull and cloudy Chertsey in the UK says hello. Everybody? Well, say hello to all of them from me. Let me see. Angie's here. You know who Angie is? Angie's our flower photography judge, resident. And she's going to be called back to active service for next month's competition, which is, oh dear, I almost said melancholy again. It's not. It's not mysterious. I got it right in the live stream the other day. Enchanted flowers. That's that's your topic for next month, not for this month. And Angie's going to be judging it. I can't wait. That was so much fun. Really looking forward to that. And Bob Vine is here, and glad you're here, Bob. Nice submission to the competition, and that goes for everybody who submitted a picture. Some of your black and white interpretations are just so brilliant. I'm excited. Really looking forward to sharing them with everybody. Art's here from Massachusetts. How's it going, my friend? Up there, is it warm and smelly like it gets up east in the summer? I think so. Thunderstorms in the UK, and yeah, we get them here. We had a bad one last night, they tell me, but I was asleep. I don't wake up for things like that. I wake up for food. That's about it. All right, so let me see. Alistair. Oh, there's the link. He did get it up. There you go. Fantastic. Great job. And from Cambria, Phil is in with us. Excellent. And Vivian Daly, Wet and Damp Ireland. Vivian, do you know my friend Robert Thompson? Is he famous in Northern Ireland? I would imagine he probably is. I don't know how famous he is elsewhere in the UK, but I'm looking forward to talking to him as well. You're going to like him. He's a nice guy. Okay, who's been out photographing fungi for hours? Angie has. Is this a good time? Is this fungus season in the UK? I don't know. I think it's fungus season here because we've got mushrooms all over the place. It seems like it would be too hot for mushrooms, but apparently not. From Austria, John Lamb is here. Oh, it's Tyrol. Is that what you were? Is that what you wrote? I was trying to interpret that. I love Austria and Switzerland both, and Liechtenstein even more probably. Lovely part of the world. Haven't been in a long time though. Short, long, long. Oh dear, this is going to be tight. And you know what's going to happen is it's going to be a dead heat, and you're going to want me to do both. And I just can't do that because I've got too much other stuff to do. I'm about a week behind and about a year behind on email. So we'll see what the numbers come out as, but thank you for voting. This is helpful to know what you want. And Dimitris is here from Greece. Welcome, my friend. Hernando Sportsman's Club's here from down in the Central Florida area, and he wants the thing kept short. Susan wants it kept long. Tramplight wants it short. Hembrodian wants it short. Taluka wants it long. Arthur Wagner wants it long. Graham is this, and now I understand what he was saying. Cover the notables, but put the remainder up as a short slideshow so that we can see them. A hybrid, you mean? That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. I like that. Yeah, that is a smart suggestion. I'll go through the honorable mentions and the winners, and then I will do a slideshow of everybody else at the end after I've said goodbye, so you can sit and look at them, and I'll put your names on them. Yeah, that's a good idea. Should I put them in order? No, I shouldn't do that without an explanation. That could be misinterpreted. I think that's probably what I'll do, unless there's an overwhelming vote for... okay, Angie's now confused everything by saying short and then long. So both short and long. Okay, short with lots of detail. Okay, that's impossible, you see. That's the whole point. Lots of detail is synonymous with long. That's with me talking fast. Would you like me to read some of my notes to you? I know you're saying, no, 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 don't read the notes, but I'm going to anyway, because you need to know. This is the list of the photographs. You can't get through that in short time. This is a drawing that I made of something I'm going to make on my 3D printer. That thing is the bee's knees. I tell you, it is so, it sucks you in, doing the 3D, the drawing mainly, the planning, the designing stuff is very, very catching. All right, so no, I'm not going to read these because it'll tell you something important about who's going to win. But each picture, okay, here's one. I'll hold it far enough away so you can't see. That's one picture. Okay, so they're really they are critiques of each individual picture, because my theory is this: if you go to the time to enter a competition that I put on because I tell you that I think it's a great way to improve your photography, and you go to the trouble of taking a picture, I need to go to the trouble of giving you feedback on that picture, because we're not. This isn't a competition for me to raise money by charging you a fee. This is a competition so that you get better as a photographer. And sending a picture off into the void isn't going to get you any better. Of course, hearing my opinion about it probably isn't going to get you any better, but it might. And it would involve other people looking at your picture and maybe talking about it with you and saying, I saw that and I liked that and I disagreed with Walls. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You could think about doing this, this and this. It is an opportunity to open up a bit of dialogue on what you're doing and how you can move it ahead. And that's what I try to do with every single photograph, from the first person to ever send in an image to the winner. I mean, everybody is going to get the same shake, and for that reason I'd prefer to do the long version, because I feel like I owe it to you. I'm going to have to otherwise find a way to get that information to you if you want it, and that would just take a lot more time. That was not what you wanted, a big long explanation, was it? And that I could see that the number of people staying awake on there's a graph. Did you know this? I have a graph right here on the right, and it shows how many of you are awake at any given moment. I think that's what it is. And as soon as I see a dip like this, that is a warning for me to stop talking about what I'm talking about and move on to something else. So now you know. That's what that is. And something else just happened. I don't know if my signal just went bad, but yeah, a warning flashed up on my screen. I hate that when it does that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up Lightroom, go to a collection that I made of some examples of what I talk about when I say wet work, because that's what the competition is for this month. Wet work means liquid, and that is the only word you need to submit your photograph. I will show you some pictures of what is and what may not be considered to be a liquid macro photograph. Now, let me explain one thing about the way I judge these pictures. It's important because it was very relevant in this competition this month. I do not disqualify any entries. I used to, and I have, so if you've been disqualified for something, don't remind me. It was embarrassing that I did that. I don't like to disqualify anybody, but if you either misunderstood or misinterpreted or just didn't like the instruction and turned in a photograph that wasn't really in keeping with the theme, I still judge that photograph. But one of the things you get points for is adherence to the theme. So if you submit a photograph of a rock when it's vegetables that I'm looking for, it may be a very, very nice picture of a rock, and you may make some decent points on the picture. but it's unlikely that you'll win against even a badly weathered carrot, which will be a vegetable and will start out with more points than the rock. But you could, potentially. So I'm just saying that. So these pictures that I'm going to show you are more guidelines than they are anything more serious than that. What I am going to hopefully do is get this big enough to where you can see it, but not so big that you have to look at all the other things going on my screen. So for wet work, the type of thing that will be welcomed and interesting would be something, for example, like bubbles, soapy bubbles in liquid. That's liquid because the star of the show is the liquid. The liquid stretched out over the gas thanks to the detergent or whatever it is that's going on. So that's one example. Another example, and something that we talked about before, is like bleeding into blue water. That's acceptable. You can do that. The idea, of course, is any liquid in another liquid. Remember, I did a thing years ago on paint. It was I was putting paint in a fish tank so that I could shoot some clouds. I think I've got a picture of it somewhere. It was for a dart thing that I was doing. Now I can't see the picture. But anyway, yeah, ink, paint, anything colored, suspended in water looks good. Just water looks good. Drops of water, drips, splashes. We've done all of this before, and these things I imagine are going to be well represented. But don't think you need a special machine to do this. I think that I did my video on how to use one of those machines, but you absolutely don't need it. You need an eyedropper and a bowl of water and a camera with a flash, and you can just get lucky. All my early water drop stuff was just pure luck anyway, of dropping the water in and snapping a bunch of pictures. And there's an inverse to that, and something that I really got into a while ago was making splashes in a tank of water, and I was using it to practice for a product photography shoot that I was doing. So I wanted to characterize what was happening with the water. So I would throw everything into this fish tank and then have to clean it and dry it so that the next picture wouldn't have splotches of water already on it. These are fake ice cubes that I made out of plastic that I melted. And yeah, throwing them into the fish tank will make for some spectacularly soaking wet sets. But yeah, so that kind of thing. These are all liquid shots. I'm showing these to show you how many I had to do before I could do one that actually involved a product. Because you have to time it just right, and you have to throw the thing in at just the right angle to get a nice looking splash. This was all day. That was the product that got photographed. Here's an example of liquid that probably should not be in a macro competition because it's more liquid than your average macro thing. It's a whole sea, for example, in this case. Too much liquid, even though it's quite spectacular. We had a terrible storm here that day, and I happened to be close enough to the action to get some pictures. This is also water, so it's liquid by definition, and it's in the sky, but it's not macro, not even close. Even the island is not macro, so none of this would work. Though it otherwise could be quite acceptable. Here's a tricky one, because this looks like swirling liquid, but it's not. It's solid. It's a sand. Sand is not liquid. This would not pass muster, so you wouldn't get any points for this. Let me see what else we have. This is water. That's good. This is colored water. Acceptable. This is colored milk. Now that is liquid too, even though it has solids in it. So you can do the splashy thing, it doesn't matter. You could do it with mercury, and I'll count that as a liquid, but you shouldn't, because that's deadly poisonous. And you'll end up with multi-headed clones of yourself walking around. Don't do that. A glass of water at rest is a liquid photograph. You can also have water moving around in the air. I particularly love this kind of thing. where you freeze the action of water with a fast flash. That's fun. You can add a couple of props to it, and a hose and a bucket like I did, and make this type of thing, which will be very familiar to one of the entrants to last month's competition who did something similar to this with a couple of glasses of wine in black and white. Very nice shot. So that's another thing that you can do. You can take pictures of things inside the blob of water. Like, remember we did this whole video on using water as a lens, and that's something that some of you are very, very good at. It's quite difficult actually to get things sharp using these as lenses. As you can see, I don't have any that are sharp. This was not a good choice to show you, but it's the right idea. This would even count as a liquid photograph. This is a cover I made for a short video that I did. It's actually 2 photographs, thank goodness. One of them is of my gumbo that I was making at the time, and the other was of some insects that were floating in a bucket of water. So yeah, I just did a little Photoshop on them, but that would be a liquid photograph because the liquid is the star there. Water droplets that are not being used as lenses are also acceptable. Are you getting the point here? That really anything that you can do, and I didn't have time to go and find all of the many hundreds and hundreds of pictures that I have that have liquids in them. I have got product shots of cups of espresso and bottles of water, and just use your imagination. I would accept life forms suspended in blobs of water where the act of the suspension in the blob of water makes it a critical component of the picture. Just something living in the water probably wouldn't count, because then the priority would shift to the thing that was living in the water. But fluids that are moving, fluids that are still, mercury, ferrofluid, there's a fluid that would make good pictures. Fluids that have properties that make them interesting, like surface tension, all of these things are good. So this really is going to be a test more of your imagination than anything else. There's no liquids that are off limits, except for the usual limits of good taste. And I'm going to pause to say one thing about the competition and the bot and the way you submit your photographs. I thought briefly last night about reducing the number of entries to a single entry, but decided against that. It's too early to do that. But one thing I am going to have to insist on, apparently when Curly Toes left with his toys, he took his bot with him, and it doesn't function apparently anymore on the Discord site. So there's nobody there to say that you're not entering the information correctly. But one of the reasons I was doing this so long this week was trying to decipher whose pictures were whose and what the title was, because there'd be different titles in the submission and on the paint on the photograph itself, to where it was a pain to keep everything straight. So I need us to get back to the same naming convention that we had in the beginning, and we need to stick to it so that I can look at your picture and know who took it, what it is, what the title is, and that way keep them all straight. So please, there were many entries that were titled JPG 9732, which doesn't help me at all. Other than to know that it's a JPEG that somebody submitted to the competition. Finding the actual entry in Discord is another layer of time that I don't have to spend doing it. So that's that. What are you thinking about as far as fluids? What would you think would be a good thing to submit? I know you can't tell us what you're actually going to do, because you can use this opportunity to mislead other people though. So give me some ideas for liquids, and we'll see if they're any good. I'm going to jump back to the comments, find out who I didn't say hi to, and see if there's any further developments on the long-short debate. But to do that, I have to first of all find that. There we go. Alrighty. So let me see. Right. So I have no idea who's winning short or long, but they continue to roll in. And Will Kivitz, have we met before, sir? I don't think so. I think you're new. You voted for long, so we are friends for life. And welcome. I'm glad you're here, and please come back. Maybe you'll get to meet my friend Rob from Peebles, who's right underneath you there. You could reach down and tap him on the shoulder. How's it going, Rob? How's Peebles? Ingolf, short, please. He's begging already. Okay, so I think we're probably back to even. And Russ, Angi, thumbs up, clap, clap. Don't understand that. Anananu, greetings from Athens, Greece. Greetings. And let me see, Russ, the long one, as it's easier for me to do. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's what you guys want. I mean, I'll probably make them both anyway. At the end of the day, I'll just whine about it, but nobody will listen here anyway. So Vivian, thumbs up. And Long, a proud liberal. You know, we really are neck and neck here. And ferrofluid and a question mark asks Skell. Ferrofluid, yes, it's an evil fluid that is suspended iron, powdered iron, that responds in bizarre ways to magnetic fields, forming self-sustaining spikes over curved surfaces. Have you ever seen it? It's like that, and then they move in a very bizarre way. Ferrofluid's great, but if you ever get it on you, you'll never get it off again, because it's the most horrible staining stuff. I made some one time. It was a disaster, but that's ferrofluid, yeah. It's a liquid that is magnetic, or influenced by magnets. And great fun. So I'm going back up. You know, I heard from a friend of the show yesterday, Phil. Does anybody remember Phil? Phil used to come to these things, but he became so busy with other things that he ducked out for a while. He's been building his home rig, and he sent me the first new entry to the cage project revisited that I'm doing, the My Rig project. He sent the first selection of photographs and words. So I'm going to have to send that to one of my curators, of which there are two. Bud and Patrick have both volunteered to curate this new exhibit. So if you have a rig at home that you're proud of or not proud of, or just want to share your experience so others don't do what you did, take some pictures of it, write some words about it. Doesn't have to be much, doesn't have to be fancy, and send it to me. It doesn't have to be in any format, because what we'll do is Patrick and or Bud will put it in the correct format to be posted onto the site, and you will become a permanent fixture on the site as one of our builders. The idea being that when we have 100 such rigs, people can come from far and wide and browse through the ideas that we have had, see what luck we've had, what hasn't worked, what has worked. And yeah, I think it's going to be a great resource for new macro photographers. So if you have a rig sitting at home that you use from time to time and you haven't documented it, but you've got some unique features on it, please take some pictures, write some words, send them to me, and call them. I think that the name of the feature is going to be My Rig. My Rig, yeah, that'll be easy to remember. So that was the first one I got, was from Phil, and it was great to see. He made his own macro rail. You know that? He made it from linear bearings and motors and Arduinos and stepper drivers. He made the whole thing, and it doesn't work at all. But that's neither here nor there. It looks good, and that's half the battle. So fungi season in the UK is early here due to a month of rain instead of summer. Yeah, well, I know how that is. So yeah, the UK is particularly good for hunting fungi. My brother does it, and he eats them. Not all of them, just the ones that are edible, he thinks, which to me is a terribly risky business for such a small benefit of eating a mushroom. Yeah, yeah, that's too risky for my blood. But you don't eat them, do you? Let me see. Okay, I've got to catch up because I've gone far. Oh, Baconmeister told me what TLDR means. Too long, don't read. Didn't read. Too long, didn't read. Oh dear. That's probably what TLDR on all my comments means. I've never seen it before, actually, to be honest. And Alistair just put a link for Robert Thompson's book, which is great. Thank you. Yes, everybody can hear and see me loud and clear, and long, loud and clear, long, short, from Loretta Costello. Loretta, I think that you are possibly in a minority at this point, but I'm not absolutely sure. In fact, I have no idea. The last time I tried to guess what you guys were telling me based on your comments, I was so wrong that my friend had to write me a letter explaining just how wrong I was. Patrick had to send me a letter explaining that no, it wasn't the majority of people wanted you to shut up. It was just one person. But they wrote that several times. So I don't know whether it's going to be long or short at this point. But Bob Fine says long, Vivian says long, Ralph says greetings instead from Pinner, which is in London, and he can do that. Baconmeister's changed his mind. So cross off one short, add one long. Now we're definitely in the long territory. Who did I miss? I said hi from Anna. And long from Mike. Good audio and video, says Susan. That's good to know. It would be even better with a Z8, wouldn't it? Did you ever get your camera, Susan? Did Nikon fix it to where the lens doesn't spring off? Somebody sent me some pictures that oh no, I know what it was. There's a picture taken in this competition that I'll be showing you this afternoon that was taken with a Z8 with your lens, and it is a jaw dropper. It's absolutely stunning, and I don't think you could get that with any other lens and camera combination. You'll have to look at the picture to understand why, but it's a beauty. I can't wait to show you that one too. All right, the longer the better. Short, Loretta. I'm reading yours again because you've got to be feeling lonely now. Let me see. Curious Scientist joins us. Curious, I've been. I did something last night which is the polarity of a USB cord important? I have a feeling the answer is yes to that. If I plugged something in to charge it backwards, would that blow it up or cause it to die? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. I'll look it up because it's a bit embarrassing. I shouldn't have said that. Small Stuff is here. Hello, Small Stuff. How are you? And David's here. David, I got your message, but I didn't read it yet. It was on my things to do at 6 o'clock this morning, but I haven't gotten back round to that list yet. I will read it and respond. Phil, now that I'm looking at Novaflex, he's talking about, a review of the manual rail that costs a fortune would be good. Is it really that good? And they claim it's good to 5x. Okay, let's talk briefly about the Novaflex manual rail. When Novaflex got in touch with me, they asked me if I wanted to review that rail, the manual rail that has a very special proprietary geared knob on the back. Do you remember the Nisi with the little handle at the back? This has a round knob with concentric rings on it and a toggle switch that you can change between 1:1 and 5:1. And when you put it on 5:1, you engage a gear reduction. I think it's a planetary type gear. that reduces and clicks the turn to where a single click is something absurd like 10 microns, which makes it well within range for doing 5 times magnification, provided it's mounted on a very stable platform, which it would be if you were spending that kind of money on it. This is a manual rail, mind you, and it's expensive. They said, would you like to review that? Or would you like to review the Castell Micro, which is their flagship, top-of-the-line automated rail? Well, seeing as Robert is coming on to talk about, among many other things, his experience with that rail, and seeing as this is my first brush with NovaFlex, I thought what I would do is ask them to let me review the mechanical rail, the automated rail, and do a very careful and good job of that review, and see if they will let me then review the manual rail as well, because I know that these are two different beasts for two different photographers. So the answer to your question is, I'm hoping both. And I am hoping that we develop a long-term relationship that will result in my looking at a lot of their macro products for you, because I have been very tongue-in-cheek about talking about the group, because frankly most of what they sell is not in a price bracket that I would ever be able to afford, which is fine. That doesn't mean I shouldn't review it. If it really is that good, I would like to know about it so I can tell you, and we'll see. I'm going to be honest with you about it, one way or the other. So I cannot wait to give it a test drive and let you know what I think. But so I don't know what the answer is. Is it worth the money? I have to pretend I've got enough money, but not too much, to judge whether or not I'd buy some of this stuff. The camera is the best example. Would I spend $4,000 on a camera? That camera, yes, I certainly would, because it's that good, the Z8. All right, so long. Not many shorts showing up. Greetings from sunny Detroit, says Joseph, who later asks, Curly Toes disappeared? I don't know if he disappeared or not, but the website that we were building together did disappear. So I'm taking that as a fairly negative indicator that we'll be seeing him again. Anyway, that's that. Let me see. Is that book a revised edition, says Joseph, or an older book? It is a brand spanking new book. This is the completely rewritten edition of this book, according to my friend Robert, who has not only written additional chapters to it, he's reorganized everything. He talks about it in the introduction. It is a wonderful book. I'm not sure it would be a book that would be cut out for you, Joseph, as a specialist photographer with lots of experience, but for anybody who considers themselves a generalist or a newcomer, or somebody who just wants a good reference for equipment and technique and the subjects you're shooting and lighting and everything else. This book has it, and it's beautifully written and well organized and well put together. And all of that is academic now, but when you meet the guy, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, because he is meticulous in his use of language. He's a very nice guy. Okay, so it is a revised book. And Phil A says, the Robert Thompson book is worth it. And I say the same thing. I've read it cover to cover, and it is well worth it. Any chance of a discount on the book for subscribers? I never even thought to ask that. I paid full price for it, but I will certainly find out. You know what? I don't know. I don't know who I'd ask. The publisher, I suppose. And they probably won't care. Publishers generally don't care, I think. But yeah, let me think about that. And of course, if I can think of a way, I will. Bud is here. Bud made it. Greetings, Bud. I know you've probably been here a while, but I'm glad you made it. Could you please kindly elaborate more on coupling the Raynox DCR 250 with a Kina 100mm internal focus? My Sony A-mount version lacks the aperture ring. Yes, your Sony may lack the aperture ring, but you could use a cable release, for example, to actuate it using a bellows. But that is such a big question. I think that what I am going to do is defer that, Anna, to next time. If you want to go into deep detail on that, get in touch with me. You can have I can do a private tutoring session on that and how to set it up and use it. But if you just want the answer to that question, the next time we do the Q&A, I'll do that. Because it would take me too long to get into that now. But it's a fairly straightforward setup, and the telecentric lens that results is very useful. Arthur's enjoying his, I think. So far we have 7 shorts and 12 longs. Angi is greedy and wants both, so that would be 8 shorts and 13 longs if you give her a full credit for each choice. Looks like long it is. TLDR from small stuff means too long. Didn't read it. Well, the last answer that I got to that question was TLDR, so now I know though. Thank you. It looks like everybody in the world knew that except me. I don't use abbreviations like that, so and I don't think I ever don't read it. If somebody writes it, I'm going to read it. So yeah, too long did read, maybe. Let's see. So Crispy B was late, but that doesn't matter. You made it, and that's all that counts. And Joseph goes back and says, to small stuff, your explanation was too long. Too long, he didn't read it. Okay. This is a meme, I think they call it. Let me see. Leroy's here from Harrogate. Welcome. And Case is here from rainy Netherlands. It was raining last time you were here, if I remember rightly, Case. Let me see. Helen Milner is here. Greetings, Helen. You actually made a live stream. Welcome to the Macro Talk 2. You're in the Midlands, correct? Glad you made it. And Gary Sissons. Gary, you're from Melbourne, and your name is unfamiliar to me, making me think you might be a first-time live streamer. Welcome to a very august group of macro photography enthusiasts. These are great people. We have great fun and learn some macro along the way. So welcome, and please come back again, Gary. Alistair's sharing another video of mine, I think, or of somebody's. And let me see. There's some internal chitter-chatter going on, which I'm just steering clear of because it's not about me. How about Angi doing a segment on what she looks for in a good flower photo, assuming she'd be happy to do it? Well, we did talk about that at some length during the judging, but of course then it's too late, isn't it? Angi, if you're still on, if you'd be interested and want to do a 10-minute chat, just you and I, we'll record it and put it out before next month on what you look for in an enchanted flower photograph. I'll be happy to do that. Yes, that's my answer. Is yes, if Angi says she'll do it. I'm not going to tell you what Angi is looking for, but I'll certainly give the platform for Angi to. Angi, just get in touch with me and let me know if that's something you want to do, and we will set it up and get it done immediately. Okay, good. That was easy to fix. And Lance is here. Good evening, Lance. Sorry I didn't see you earlier. Let me see. Crispy B's asking Joseph a private question about, well, it's not private because he put it here, about the Schneider Companon lens. But don't do it on Discord, do it here so that everybody can benefit from your wisdom on that. I know you know a lot about these lenses. That is something we'd all like to hear about. To me, a question, do you have a link to the last Pzoom meeting? that was me thinking, oh my God, I did it. That's twice I've done it. Somebody asked me yesterday, no, at the last live stream, would you please put the recording up, and I forgot to, and I just forgot to again. So that's twice I forgot. I'll do it right after this before I make the video. I'll put it up. So the Pzoom meeting from last week will be up today. Thank you, and sorry about that. So Lance has been on his holidays for his son's wedding in Cyprus. Oh, yeah, what a nice place that is. Welcome back. I hope the wedding went well and everybody is happy. Good for you. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. It sounds like bloody Morse code, says Joseph. No, that's not what Morse code sounds like. I'll do Morse code for you. That's what Morse code sounds like. Long, short is just words. Okay, so I've done everything I said I was going to do so far, and we are down to goodbyes. What if you send a picture of vegetables carved from stone? This is Joseph sending me a teaser, and I won't respond to that. I won't rise to the bait. Let me see. So we're about done. I think it is 3 o'clock, and I know that you guys have to get back to work, or in some cases back to sleep. Abdullah has just left a tip, and I appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much. And I'm not supposed to tell. Okay, he didn't, so there you go. Joseph, I hate memes. The way they always grope imagery is just creepy. Okay, I'm not sure I agree with that or disagree with it, because I don't know what in the heck you're talking about. But yeah, I think memes have a place. They're like the modern equivalent of a literary heuristic. I'm sure you'd agree that there are times that having that type of a mental abbreviation is useful in communication, especially with young people. That's my thought. You might disagree. Angi would be happy to do that. Angi, we will set up a time. I will contact you today, and just let me know when you can do it. We'll get it on the book and get it recorded. That will be so much fun. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, Larry and Joseph are talking, which means I need to pay attention to that conversation eventually, because some pearls of wisdom will come from that. Robert was a little late, but he's here from Ocala. Welcome, Robert. I hope you haven't left already so you could hear that. Let me see. Crispy B bought a Componon S50 2.8, the last version. It's so amazing. I'm considering getting the 80 4.0 as well. Not sure whether or not to get this as the macro iris. Interesting. Let me see what he thinks. I don't think that the 80 f4 is as good a lens, not by a long way, but yeah. Is there a good basic book on optics, lenses, how they work that I could recommend? No, so much so that I seriously thought about writing one. And then Rick told me, don't be ridiculous. You don't know enough to write a book on the subject. So he's right about that. But no, I've looked everywhere. They go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in the first page, and there is so much mathematics in them, it left my head spinning. And it is very hard to describe optics, because optics, a scientific discussion of optics is a discussion of probabilities and variables that float. There are no hard and fasts, because everything is kind of an approximation in optics. Very, very highly refined estimations, but they're estimates nonetheless. This, the more you get away from ideal lenses into the real world lenses, the more like it seems like black magic than science. So I have not found a book that I have read that has been really very helpful at all. And I do ask every time I'm around people in the know. I've never asked Joseph, though, what book he would recommend. But yeah, I just do not have the physics or the math to make sense. Well, of the ones I've read, but I'll keep that in mind, and if I think of one, I'll do it. I'll pass it on. And Russ said, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, meaning me, not Russ. Though you could give Russ a thumbs up too, for thinking of that. There's something that Larry loves that he can't get his customers to use. I don't know what that might be. That's an old, oh, Joseph's talking to me. That's an old movie trope with Morse code done by knocking on something. No, it's not. It's a key. The Morse code is done with a switch. I just don't have one, so I had to pretend by tapping the computer. But yeah, it's a switch. I know that. Or you could use a light, or you could use anything that could do long and short dashes. I learned Morse code when I was a Boy Scout before they threw me out of the clan. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing, but you know that because you heard it. All right, let me see. Joseph, imaginary, not imagery. Okay, I'm missing the point there. Is that something I said earlier, or you said earlier? Oh, I am going to USB. Okay, I plug things into USB. No, I don't know what question he's answering. Here's what I did. I made a plug for a USB device that just needed power, and I can't hold it still over the camera. There you go. So on the other end of this is just a square USB-A plug, and I checked it with a multimeter to find out which the positive and the negative was, but the thing I was plugging it into doesn't have polarity marked on it. And it is also not a polar plug, so you can put the plug in either way. Told me that you can put the thing in either way, but I put it in and it died. So there you go. But it was, yeah, it's the right voltage and the right amperage. It's confusing, isn't it? That we do have a book recommendation. Did you manage to make the drawings for the Nikon bellow stop screw? No, Harold, I did not. And you know, that's bothered me all week because I forgot about it because I didn't write it down. Can I have till next week? No, I'll tell you what, put your email address in the, send it to me, send me your email. I'll find it, and I will make the drawing and get it. I'll ask Larry to look at it and then I'll send it to you. Okay. You guys are so patient with me. If you knew how many irons I have in the fire on any given day. End cap for bellows. Yeah, I should sell those because everybody manages to lose them. I'll get them done as soon as possible. In fact, I will open Fusion 360 as I'm closing this. Okay. Oh, you know it's not as good as the 50, but I need the image circle for the GFX sensor. I see what you're saying. And the only lenses that are better are super expensive. Rayfacts or macro Verons, etc. Yes, yeah. Have you considered getting a scanner Nikkor, a scanning Nikkor? The 150 will give you no, the 105 will give you full frame coverage. Yeah, and they're cheap. They're about a tenth the price of a printing Nikkor if you can find one. If you find two, get them both and I'll buy one from you. I've been looking everywhere. A Morse code key lets you hear it go up and down. So does a light. Knocks don't. No, I missed the wordplay of meme and mime. Okay, very possibly. Phil took calculus 45 years ago. Not sure if it still exists. Would optical engineering work for me? The book, Optical Engineering. Joseph says it might be problematic. You need classical physics. Interesting. You know what, Phil? I'm going to work on that question and come up with an answer, because I should have an answer by now. I mean, God, I've been looking for years. I'll come up with something and read some more reviews this week. Okay, we're going to call it quits. Yeah, when you open 360, you can lose a lot of time. Tell me about it. Boy, it is the rabbit hole of rabbit holes. But I love it. I mean, I love to be in there. Vivian, thank you so much. A cup of coffee would be lovely. And I'll start saving for one with your €5, because coffee's getting expensive over here. But no, thank you very much. That's very kind, very thoughtful. Are frozen liquids okay? Yes, they are. They are. Frozen liquids are okay. You know what? Glass is, technically speaking, a liquid and would be okay too. Just saying. And you heard that, and everybody else has gone home, so that might be an advantage for you to take advantage of. Online fusion is down at the moment. Is it really? I'll take your word for it. Bummer. It's probably got infected from one of my drawings, and it's having a meltdown at the core. Okay, that was fun. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm sorry that this wasn't a particularly scientific one. They're normally a bit more structured than this, but yeah, it was just I think time for a nice chit chat. Come join us at Pzoom on Saturday if you're interested. Competition results out this afternoon. I will post the end cap drawing, if it's any good, on Patreon, as well as sending it to Harold. And yeah, I think I've got my work cut out for me. Busy afternoon ahead. Okay, everybody, take care and stay well. And I read Russ's mind. And Peter Nagy's here. Are Jack Daniels okay? Yes. As liquids? I would say that was the very definition of a liquid. Happy, happy. Joy, joy. They make that in your neck of the woods, don't they? Or a little bit west of you. Volcanic rock was also a liquid. But it's not now. Whereas frozen liquids, most of them are still liquid, I think. I don't know. Just do it and see what happens. I'm a pretty easy guy to get along with. Take care, everybody. And Curious, take care, my friend. And I will speak to you again soon. Yep. They don't have to be old, Russ. If you've got a micrometer like I do, which is over on the other table, I bought a micrometer and I love the thing. That will measure differences in glass that's only been up for a few years. They don't have to be ancient. Okay, I've got to go. It's not a myth. It's not a myth. I'm going to go because they're going to start arguing and I can't stand that. It makes me too nervous. I'll see you guys on Saturday or Tuesday or Thursday. Good day. 157 views today. Thank you guys. I appreciate that.